What's up, guys? These are going to be the final picks for UFC on ESPN Plus 22, Blazkowicz versus Souza. It's coming up tomorrow from Brazil, 5 p.m. start time, I believe. First thing, guys, I did notice Ariana Lipski's fight's missing from the betting sheets. I'm not sure what happened with that. It's kind of a shame because I was going to recommend a bet on her at the odds she was at. I think it was 1.9. And she also had some really juicy props. At submission was close to 15 to 1. A TKO was 13, and just a finish was at 7 to 1. So there was value there, guys. So it is a shame that that's removed, but there are still a few plays that I didn't mention in the first video that you guys might be interested in. So I'm just going to go through the card like I have in past, starting with the main event. I'll work my way up the card. And we'll do it like that. So main event, guys, Jan Blazkowicz, Ronaldo Souza. Interesting fight here, guys. Now, Ronaldo Souza has been at 205, I believe. In his Bellator days, he was, fighting in the middleweight and light heavyweight division. So I do feel like he will be comfortable there. I think he's at a point in his career now where he's kind of looking for a home in a division where he can, of course, get some wins again. I don't necessarily think Blazkowicz is a good opponent for him at the moment. I think he's going to have a hard time getting him to the ground, and I do feel like Blazkowicz has the advantage on the feet. Of course, Souza does have improved striking. He definitely can hang. He's gotten a lot better over the years, but I still give Blazkowicz the advantage, and I do feel like most of the fight, if not all of it's going to be contested on the feet. I am going to pick Blazkowicz to win by a late finish, but I don't love the odds where they're at right now. I do feel like it could be a little bit closer to a pick 'em. But again, guys, I am going to pick Blazkowicz by late TKO. Mauricio Shogun Hua and Paul Craig. This is one I wanted to talk about quick, guys. Now, earlier in the week, of course, I did talk about Mauricio Hua, that, he should be able to win the fight. But I will say these odds reflect, a prime Shogun, not the Shogun we've been seeing over the last few years. So I can't warrant a 1.36 parlay or any type of bet with Shogun involved. I do think the lines are off. I am actually going to take a small shot on Paul Craig. I do like him in this spot. I don't think he's a great fighter. I do think Shogun is the better, on almost all facets of MMA. But at this point, he's definitely on a big decline. And I could see Paul picking up the win here. I am, again, going to take a small shot. So I'm going to say Paul Craig by decision over Mauricio Hua. Possibly a finish, but I mean, it does kind of break my heart to bet against Shogun. I don't really see, exactly how Craig's going to win. I just feel like at this point he might be able to pull it off, and the odds are off. So I am, again, guys, taking a shot here. Same with the next fight. Two big dogs back to back that I feel like the odds are off on. Did mention earlier in the week, again, guys, Jared Gordon. If he got up to 4 to 1, I'd be taking a shot, and I did. Again, it's a smaller bet. When you get odds that are this big, guys, you don't really have to go huge. You can kind of make smaller bets to get that profit that you like to get without having to spend as much. So it's a good thing when you're confident in some of these fighters with the blown up odds, because it is a good opportunity to make some money. Now, Jared Gordon's definitely underestimated. He has power in his hands. If you guys check out his stats on UFC.com, he has some impressive stats. And a guy like Charles Oliveira, who doesn't like to get hit or be the nail in a fight, definitely could pose some problems for him. And I think 4 to 1's, way on the line. So that's why I did take a shot. And these two fights, guys, that we just talked about with Craig and Gordon, both are prime examples of taking advantage of lines that are off. I probably wouldn't take a shot at these. If Craig was at 2.5, I'd stay away. And same with Gordon, right? If those were the odds, I do look at them as the dogs, but there is a significant, discrepancy in what I think the odds should be and what the bookies think. So I am, again, guys, taking advantage of that. It's a good way to make money. Now, you won't take advantage of all of these positions if you don't have a substantial bankroll already. When you do start to grow your bankroll, you have some money, disposable income, and things like that. Now, nothing should be considered disposable income when it's gambling, when you're, placing your bets, because it's a quick way to lose money. But more so what I mean is when you have a bit of profit stacked up, you've been ahead for a while, you can take a few extra bets that you see value in, even if you don't necessarily, or you're not necessarily confident in a fighter to win, but you're a lot more confident than the book is, right? So you can take a bit more risk. I wouldn't advise jumping all over all the 3 and 4 to 1 dogs when you're just building up your bankroll. But again, if you've done the tape and you're familiar, there is some good opportunities to jump on. Especially like Gordon right there is a good example of people just looking at Oliveira's past performances or his dominant ones and completely ignoring any of the deficiencies that we've seen. Next up, Antonio Arroyo, Andrew Muniz. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, guys. I do feel the odds are accurate. A lot of people high on Muniz. I didn't spend a whole lot of time. There was a lot of fights that I was looking at between Bellator, Bare Knuckle, and the UFC. This isn't one of the ones that was high on my list to, look into. So this is one I'm going to skip over, guys. It's the only one on the card that we're not going to talk about. So let's just get straight into the next one. Marcus Perez and Wellington Turman. Earlier in the week, I'd heard a lot of people like Turman at those 2.5 odds, or 2.3, I think it was. Actually, after watching tape, I'm not too high on him. Wasn't overly impressed. I think Perez is a decent bet here, guys. I did take a shot earlier in the week when it was at 2.3. I guess Perez probably would have been at 1.7, 1.66 area. Wouldn't have been tempting to me. These numbers are. So I did take a shot on Perez, guys. I do like him to win. Not sure if it'll be by decision or finish, but the odds on a finish for the prop is about 4 to 1. So maybe a small shot there along with your straight bet. But I mean, keep it really small. I do feel like it's possible that Perez could get a finish in this fight. He is more of a grinder. He'd probably like to just get the takedown and accumulate points and things like that. But I could see him possibly pulling out a submission on the ground. Again, guys, I'm going to go with Perez. I didn't like him earlier in the week for a bet, but I do now. James Krause, we've talked about this first video of the week. I had him parlayed up with Venom Page, who dropped out of the card. So now he's by himself. I do know that a lot of people are worried about a robbery being possible. I'm not mad at anybody. I do know on some sites that, they let you cash out. There won't be any penalty. You're not going to lose any money and you cash out. I mean, it is what it is. I don't really ever cash out. But for those that, aren't confident or afraid of a robbery, I don't blame anybody who's second guessing robberies. They've been brutal lately. Definitely possible here in Brazil, and probably highly likely we will see a few. So anybody steering clear of fights where they feel like robberies can get in the way of who should actually win and hurt your bankroll, I don't blame you whatsoever. I do understand, and there are a lot of spots here where I could see it happening. But again, I just like Krause, so maybe a parlay option still, guys. If you are with me on Blazkowicz, you might want to look to parlay up Krause with him. But you don't have to go big, guys. Get to that plus money or make those couple units and call the wrap, because none of those fights are really, that far apart where I would be that surprised to see the other guy win. So just be careful. Next up, Ricardo Ramos and Eduardo Gregory. A lot of people really like Ramos here, but as you can see at 1.28, I have no interest in betting him. Gregory's undefeated, or Gregory. I like this maybe to go to decision. Might be the better bet, depending on what the prop is there. It might be one of your prop parlays. I am going to lean Ramos, but the odds are way off. No interest in a bet here, guys. I'm not going to be touching it, so I'm just going to move on to Trinaldo and Bobby Green. Bobby Green, I did place a bet on him. Now, I do, put a lot in the stock that Trinaldo's on his way out. This is a lot closer fight. But again, I haven't been impressed with him at all. The James Vick performance stands out huge to me. Bobby Green's been away for a while. After, being robbed, he stepped away, said he was going to retire, and he was robbed. I understand why he was pissed. But to see him come back to fight a Brazilian in Brazil, where the likelihood of robbery is huge, I don't understand that. Hopefully his intention is to kind of go for the kill now, not leave it in the hands of the judges. And we'll see how it goes. I don't, have a problem with anybody who took a shot at dog odds on Bobby Green. But again, another robbery possibility here, guys. So I understand people staying away. Uh, Warley Alves, Randy Brown. Really interesting fight here, guys. I did put in a bet on Brown earlier in the week. A lot of that had to do with the fact that he really surprised me in his fight with Brian Barberena. I picked Barberena to win that fight. I thought his wrestling would be able to, you know, handle Brown, get at least the decision win. But of course, we saw, you know, Brown was able to stifle all that, put up a really good performance, and got the finish on a really tough guy in Brian Barberena. So I was surprised by that, and I'm kind of, you know, banking that performance, or banking on a performance like that in this fight where he can kind of just keep Warley Alves off of him, you know, use his defensive wrestling just to keep it a stand-up fight, and keep a little bit of distance where he can use his range, and just kind of either outpoint Alves or maybe a late TKO. But Alves has looked good in recent fights. I did watch a couple like fights again, and he has looked improved since the James Krause performance. But again, if Randy Brown can kind of implement that James Krause game plan, you know, and pick up a win on the feet here, I do think that's a viable path to victory. And again, I did put a bet on Randy Brown at 2-1. So, you know, kind of up to you guys. Some people are high on Alves. You know, this is, again, a pretty performance-based pick because of how Brown looked in his last fight. So we'll see how that goes, guys. I do like Brown. I'll say by decision. Next up, Renan Barão and Douglas Silva de Andrade. Another interesting one here, guys. 3.10 for Renan Barão is on the low end. I think he's up to like 3.25 or more. Now, it doesn't look like he can win a fight to save his life. I will say that. And he's looked really disappointing. The thing is, I went back and watched his last fight with Luke Sanders, and he was doing pretty well in that fight up until the point he got caught. Now, he actually, you know, hit Sanders with some nice shots in the first round, kind of had him rocked a couple of times, was really using his kicks. Now, that's the part or the spot where I think he can kind of be successful in this fight if he implements a kicking game plan on Douglas here. I do feel like there is a path to victory for Barão. It's just his chin makes me really nervous, right? But I feel that is reflected in the odds. So if you can still get, oh, sorry about the blocking of the screen there, guys. If you can get Barão up to, you know, 3.25 and you know, even better, I am going to take a shot on that. I do think those lines are off. Barão should be a dog for sure. Probably about a 2.5 to 2.75. Like a lot of these fights on this card, guys, should be around that 2.5 dog, but they've gotten up to 3 and 4 to 1 because of people betting up the lines, right? So it's not always the bookie who makes the mistake. Sometimes the public makes the mistake and leaves you an opportunity. So waiting in this case, guys, opened up. Now, Barão was already a dog, but I just, as the week went by and I was able to watch some tape, I just started to like the bet a bit more. Now, of course, his chin is pretty much gone. It's fair to say anybody who said that, you know, you can't bet Barão based on his chin, I wouldn't have a huge argument for that. But I do feel like he does still have a bit of that skill he had back in the day. It's just, you know, his timing and, of course, like I said, his chin is just not what it used to be. In this spot, though, I do like the bet. So I did put another small bet on Barão. That's the third fight, guys, on this card where it's a 3 to 1 dog, and it's a small shot. So we had Paul Craig, Jared Gordon at 4 to 1, and now again Renan Barão. So all of these fights, though, guys, I want to use these as examples. If they don't come through, I still consider them good bets. Like, I'm not going to be, you know, angry or, you know, regret making them. All these bets that I've placed on this card, guys, are perfect examples of fights that I see value. So, you know, win or lose, I'm not going to be upset because I like the bet. If you're really confident in the bets you're placing, guys, you shouldn't be upset when the fight's done, right? You should be happy, know that you saw the value, and put your money in a good spot. And then, you know, sometimes you don't win, right? But just always be confident. And then that way, if for whatever reason your picks don't come through, you're okay with that, and you can, move on with your day. Some people, they have a bad event, it'll ruin their whole weekend. So just don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be down after a card because of the selections you made, right? Always be confident. And if you have a rough one, you have a rough one. The last fight we're going to talk about real quick, guys, Tracy Cortez and Vanessa Mello. Again, guys, no interest in these odds. The value would be on Mello. I just really liked Cortez's performance on the Contender Series. So it's, I'm not going to bet against her here. But again, the value's on Mello for sure. I am going to pick Cortez to win by decision, though, guys. And I think that's pretty much, all the fights on the card we've covered now. So let me just real quick talk about the highlighted fighters here for anybody who missed the strategies video yesterday. Basically, what I'm just going to show you real quick here is, for all your straight bets on the card, you can, assure that you won't come out a loser on the night or come out with nothing. With this method, you'll always, at the end of the night, have something in your account. So basically, you're going to take all the opponents of your straight bets. Now, I have to stress this. Of course, you're not going to include any parlays in this hedge. This is a hedge strictly for one-fighter bets, or one-fight bets, sorry. No parlays, of course. So in my case, Randy Brown, there was a bet. Bobby Green. Kraus now by himself after Venom Page fell off. And Marcus Perez. Now, we could also, if you're, really wanting to include them, I guess, Mauricio Hua, Charles Oliveira, and Douglas Silva de Andrade could be added as well. But these are more the juicier odds. Those other fighters that I just mentioned don't have great odds and aren't really going to rack up the accumulators quite as high. So I kept them out of it. But basically, as you can see, the four opponents here in a parlay get you odds of 15.93. Now, if you were to go now and put $5 there, you're looking at 75 as a return if they all lose. Now, of course, you want that parlay not to hit. You want all of these selections to lose because, of course, you put your hard-earned money on single bets for them to win. But if they do, of course, you've gotten profit back. So say you put 20 on each of them and you win that first fight of the night. So Marcus Perez, you get that W, and now that 20 is 40. You have money in your account. So this parlay is now useless, but you don't need it. Any of the fighters do come through and bust up this hedge parlay. That means that, of course, you have money in your account. And worst case, if somehow they all lose, again, you'll have money in your account. Now, again, if the first fight of the night wins and this parlay is now useless, just give me 1 sec here, guys. You can also continue on with the other three fighters, right? Because they'll still give you some decent odds. Just bear with me. I'm trying to get the remote here, guys. Where are we at? Okay. So you can go on, guys, after. So let's just say you get your win here with Randy Brown now, or Alves is useless. 1 sec, guys. My son's calling me. Okay, well, I'll just wrap this up real quick. So you could continue that parlay on with these three fighters. They're still going to give you, decent odds for a hedge parlay. And I want to stress, if you have the bet credits, guys, that's what I like to use. If you're actually using your hard-earned cash here to hedge, keep it super small, $5 or whatever, just to make sure, again, that at the end of the night, if all your selections were to lose somehow, you have that insurance policy, guys. It does help. It's helped a lot of people. It's helped a lot of people save money when they've had bad nights. So something to look at there, guys. And that's about it for this final picks episode. And I hope you guys do really well on your bets this weekend. There are a lot of good positions. Johnny Bedford, for anybody who missed the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, that's something to look at. I made a bet on him at about 1.8. He's been killed since then. But again, something to look at there. I'll see you guys next week. I think there'll be some promotions to bet on. I don't think there is a UFC next weekend, if I remember correctly. The next up will be Overeem and I can't remember who the main event is, but it's coming up in a couple weeks. There is a fight, so I'll see you guys for those cards. In the meantime, I'll probably end up dropping a strategies video again once I hit around 100 subs, and then of course we'll be continuing with all the other promotions. PFL, I believe, is coming up as well. So I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.